groovy.
Hey everybody, Jim here. I'm recording this on a Monday afternoon. Just got done with school, and this is a response video to Mr. Dude 206. He tagged me in a video wanting to know what my 5 most nostalgic games are, because just recently a tag went around where everybody was pulling out their most valuable games in their collections, and it got around to Thrift Dweller, and they kind of kicked it back and said, let's forget about the monetary value. What's the most nostalgic? What games do you feel the greatest attachment to? So I got a little bit of Coke here, I got my games, and I'm about to do this, so let's do it. Okay, so first up, I'm actually going to kind of cheat a little bit, because I'm going to do 2 games, because I got these together way back in the day, about 16 years ago. Now, obviously not these copies. All the games that I'm featuring in this video aren't the original games I had. These are all the Japanese versions. I originally had US versions back when I was a kid living in the US. But first up is going to be Jet Set Radio, aka Jet Grind Radio, and Shenmue. These games, beyond just loving these games because they're great games, way back when, in 2000, I believe, Christmas of 2000, I really wanted a Dreamcast. A friend of mine had gotten a Dreamcast about a month or 2 earlier, and I'd gone to his house and played a bit of Jet Grind Radio and a couple other games. I don't think he had Shenmue, but Shenmue was one that I had been reading about and really wanted to try. So that Christmas I got my Dreamcast. Very excited, very great Christmas, and the game I got with it was Tokyo Extreme Racer. Now, no love lost for Tokyo Extreme Racer. It's a great game. I actually ended up playing that game for a really long time. I really do enjoy it. But what I really wanted was Jet Grind Radio and Shenmue, because I played Jet Grind Radio, as I said before, and it was it's incredibly fun. Love that game. So what ended up happening was, I think later in that week, I got my dad to drive me to the nearest Funko Land. And I've told this story before. I went into Funko Land with a whole lot of games to trade in. Traded in a lot of stuff, and ended up walking away with copies of Shenmue and Jet Grind Radio and a Todd McFarlane Akira action figure. It was Tetsuo with his arm all mutated, and it was really cool. But these were the 2 games I walked out of there with. I traded in an entire library of Super Nintendo games and some PS1 games, a whole bunch of stuff, and walked out with these 2 games, and I didn't feel bad about it, because I went home and I played them both to death. Shenmue in particular became kind of like a centerpiece of my life for a little while. I was living vicariously through this game. But yeah, these 2 games hold immense nostalgic value for me. I love them, and every time I look at them, I will always remember Christmas 2000, when I made that fateful trip to Funko Land and traded in a mountain of games for just 2, and I didn't regret it. Alright, next up, my favorite game in this series, Japan, Akumajo Dracula, United States and Europe, Super Castlevania 4. I absolutely love this game. I have memories of being a little kid, never actually getting to play Castlevania, only being able to watch my older cousins play it. Always thought it was super cool. One time in particular, I can remember, I think I was 5 years old, and my cousin was really deep into a game at Castlevania. He might have been on the last level, but I bumped the NES and froze his game, and he was not happy. He didn't yell at me because I was only 5, but it was this really silent, deep, seething anger that you could just feel radiating from him. So when we eventually got Super Castlevania 4, I think my older brother bought it, a loose copy from a friend of his, or something. I don't even remember how we ended up with Castlevania 4. But Castlevania 4 was really the first Castlevania that I got to play. Amazing, amazing game. I sat and watched my brother play through it one night. I think in one sitting, he played through it the whole way. I think he had a little guide with him or something, but he played through the entire game in one night, and I can remember it being really, really late. I was up way past my bedtime to watch him finally kill Dracula. But then when he was done with it, he passed it along to me, and I finally got to play some Castlevania, and it was amazing. It still is. This is a game I still go back and play through at least a few times a year. This is my favorite Castlevania game. One of my favorite games ever, actually, and it holds a lot of nostalgic value for me. Super Castlevania 4. Alright, this next game holds a lot of nostalgic value for me because this, well, Rockman 2, or Mega Man 2, this was the first Mega Man game I ever played. My older brother, again, and you're going to hear him coming up a lot in this video, he was a huge Mega Man fan. And I think he had 2 and 3 at home, if I'm not mistaken. And I would spend a lot of time just watching him play Mega Man 2 and Mega Man 3. And eventually, it wasn't very often that he let me play on his NES, because I was his, 5-6-year-old little brother and didn't really have a firm grasp of how to play video games, per se. So when he finally let me play Mega Man 2, it was amazing. I died immediately and repeatedly, but still had a ton of fun anyway. And everything about that game, I watched him play through that and Part 3 so many times that the cover art is just burned into my brain. All of the music, the stages and enemies, it's just all unforgettable. So every time I hold a copy of Mega Man 2 or Rockman 2, and especially when I'm playing it, it really takes me back to just being 6 years old again, and it really stirs up a lot of memories. So Mega Man 2, Rockman 2, however you want to say it, big time nostalgic game for me. Rockman X. So like I said, my older brother is a huge Mega Man fan, and by virtue of that, I became a huge Mega Man fan. When we finally got a Super Nintendo in 1993, and it became apparent that there were these new Mega Man games on, or at least this one, my brother's super excited, and then I was super excited. My brother had a sleepover, where I think like maybe a half dozen of his friends came over, and they had rented a copy of Mega Man X, and I can recall sitting in the room with them, and they're taking turns, and they're each picking different stages, just trying things out, and they weren't able to get past any stages, and then they got up and left to eat or do something, and they left the system on. So I picked up the controller, and I picked the Chilled Penguin stage, and I actually got to the capsule that gives you the dash boots. And when I saw it, I had no idea what the hell it was, but it looked important. So I immediately put the controller down, got up, ran to the kitchen, and grabbed my brother and said, I think there's something, I did something in the game, you have to see. So him and his friends came in and they saw the capsule, and they were like, holy shit, what is that? And so kept playing from there. So that was my first experience with Mega Man X. I found the capsule in the Chill Penguin stage before my brother and his friends did. And funny enough, the next morning when we woke up, a few of his friends left ahead of everybody else, but that copy of Mega Man X was missing. Somebody had absconded with it. Some people theorized that I had taken it, which I didn't, because how are you going to steal a game and then how would I play it? It's in my house, it's, they're going to figure it out. So when the game could not be found, my poor mother ended up having to go to Walmart and buy a brand new copy of Mega Man X for $60 and bring it into, I think it was a Blockbuster. She had to bring it into the Blockbuster and give it to them and tell them that I have no idea what the hell happened to your game, so I just went and bought you a new one. And yeah, that was a bummer. because a few days later, just wow, out of the blue, my brother figured out who did it and went to his house and was able to get the game back from him. And that was how we ended up with our copy of Mega Man X with the Blockbuster sticker still on it. My poor mom had to spend $60 for a complete game just so that we could get a loose cart. That was no good. But Mega Man X is my favorite Mega Man game. Still is. I can beat it in about 45 minutes tops. And can I in 45 minutes, or am I thinking of something? Anyway, I can beat it lightning quick, 100%. It's my favorite Mega Man game. It's great and very much nostalgic value. Mega Man X. Alright, and this game is probably going to be a no-brainer to a lot of people. It's a game that, it's in my name. Street Fighter 2, the original, the World Warrior for the Super Nintendo. This game holds so much nostalgic value for me because, and again, this is a story I've told before. When I was a little kid, I spent a lot of time in my aunt and uncle's convenience store, and they essentially would babysit me there. They had, chips and candy and sodas, and they had a video rental section so I could sit behind the counter and watch movies all day, and they eventually got some arcade machines, some arcade cabinets in the store. And they had a few. They had Tubin, and I think they had some kind of Ikari Warriors Commando clone. They had gotten a few that rotated in and out, but eventually in 1992 they got a Street Fighter 2 World Warrior cabinet, and that was my first time ever playing Street Fighter 2. Was there in my aunt and uncle's convenience store where I spent so much time as a kid. And initially I was watching my cousin play it, and he was really, really into it. So he was pumping quarters into this thing, and the only character he was using was Ken. And so I didn't know the difference between any of the characters. I hadn't played it. I was only 6 years old. But when he finally stopped playing, I asked my aunt and uncle to pull a stool up to it, and they gave me some quarters from the register, and I sat down, and the first character I picked was Ken, because I had watched my cousin playing as Ken. And I wasn't really any good. I was only 6 years old, but I was having a really great time. And so when I was eventually able to play Street Fighter 2 on the Super Nintendo, and it was a control pad, so it was a D-pad and everything. It was something I was a little more used to. It was a lot easier to pull off moves, and I could just sit there and play infinitely. And so I eventually started to get better at Street Fighter, but it all started in a little convenience store in southern Louisiana. Me just sitting there pumping in quarter after quarter that came out of the register, and mainly just playing as Ken. I can't even remember if I ever picked any other characters. I know when I started playing on Super Nintendo, my other favorite character was Guile, just because I thought he looked cool. I thought he had cool hair. I even remember once telling my dad took me to get a haircut. My dad was a military man, and he took me to get a haircut, and I remember telling him I wanted to get my hair cut like the Army man in Street Fighter 2. And my dad didn't know what the hell I was talking about, but he only knew of one Army man's haircut. So he took me to the barber, and they almost shaved me completely bald. A high and tight is what they call it. I was not happy. I did not look like Guile after that haircut. I was not happy. But yes, Street Fighter 2, just the absolute most nostalgic game for me. It takes me right back to that convenience store in 1992, pumping in quarters and drinking blue cream soda and eating just chips. I think they were golden flake something. Those were my favorite chips at that time, I think. Eating a lot of chips, drinking a lot of blue cream soda, and pumping quarter after quarter to Street Fighter 2. And there you go. Those are some of the most nostalgic games that I can think of that I have. That when I play them, I get a special feeling way down in the cockles of my heart. So there you go, Mr. Dude 206. There's my response to your tag video, and now it falls on me to tag a few people. He tagged 4 people, so I'm gonna tag 4 people, and the 4 people I'm gonna tag first, the 2 guys I pretty much must tag. They are my cohorts on the Powerful Stream, RPG Machine 86 and Carcamo. I want you guys to tell me what the 5 games are in your collection that you feel the most nostalgic for. It makes your cockles get all crazy. And for the other 2, I'm gonna go ahead and tag Mr. Dude's podcasting cohorts, Weekend Game Guy and Michael B, the Game Genie. You 2 fellas, go ahead and tell us all what are the 5 games in your collection you're most nostalgic for. I think just from watching them both for so long, I think I might know. I know some of them. I think Mike. I'm thinking Mike's gonna include Royal Rumble, because I seem to recall him doing a review of that video, talking about his history with that. Anyway, going off on a tangent. RPG Machine 86, Carcamo, Weekend Game Guy, Michael B. Tell us what your cockly games are. Or nostalgic, if you want to call it nostalgic. I prefer to say cockly. Anyway, thank you everyone for watching. Thanks Mr. Dude for tagging me. This is Jim, and take care everybody. I'll see you next time.